So last week I sold a call on SPY and I rolled my CRDO sold put. Both of them made me some money even though the market is coming down. So we're going to take a look at those on the charts here. Then we're going to update my spreadsheet for my options tracker. And then after that, we're going to update the high yield stock tracker sheet, enter in those distributions to show what that new real price per share will be. Hello, my friends, this is Legend. So today we're going to take a look at SPY and CRDO. SPY has been coming down for the last few days here, and I own my shares at this 668 mark right here. And even though the price of SPY is under my purchase price, I was still able to make money this week. And how was I able to do that? Well, it all comes down to options. I was actually able to sell a call option on SPY, still make some money, even though the price is way below where I currently own those shares at. And then we'll talk about CRDO, where I did have a $99 sold put, and I actually rolled that one out to make even more money. Then after talking about those, we'll update that options tracker sheet and the high yield stock tracker sheet and get those updated and see where I currently sit. So before we get into it, if you don't mind, hit that like button as it does help the channel out and it is much appreciated. So let's just go ahead and jump right into SPY. As you can see right here, SPY has been coming down. So before we had this big drop right here the last couple of days, we had this little pop-up right here. And on that pop-up, I was able to take advantage of that to sell a call. Now, even though it is down low, I could still sell a call, as I did show that in my previous video. But since it did give that little pop-up on the 25th, I was able to sell that call and make some money for just roughly a couple day options trade. So let's take a quick look at that options trade and we'll take a look at my orders. And you can see right here, I had actually sold a call at a 670 strike right there, 670 strike out till March the 27th. So I opened this one on Wednesday and it closed on Friday, and it was not exercised because the price of SPY never got to 670. As you can see right here, it was moving up. I sold a 670 strike right up here in this area, which is above my 668 purchase price. So if it did move on up, yes, my shares could have got called away, but it still would have been above my purchase price, which means I would have actually also made some price appreciation on top of the premium I did earn. But instead, it actually dropped. So that was a pretty good move to be able to sell that call. It falls back down and then it just expires worthless. But going back to this order right here, you can see, like I said, March the 27th at a 670 SPY call that I sold, it was filled. I earned 75 cents or $75 for those couple of days. And yes, that's not a whole lot of money, but with the way the market has been moving and moving down, it sure is nice to still bring in some money, even though the price of everything is dropping. So before we enter that into my options tracker, let's take a look at CRDO, and then we'll just update both of those in the options tracker at the same time. And here we are on CRDO. Now for CRDO, I had sold a put on CRDO that was to expire on the 27th, which was this past Friday. And that strike I had selected was $99, okay? And you can see that the current price being $95.24 means that if I would not have rolled that put, I would have been assigned CRDO shares at $99, even though it's at $95, right? But since I already own 100 shares of CRDO, I decided to go ahead and roll this one. So basically what I did is rolled the expiration date out further in time, and I rolled that $99 strike down to $95, as you can see right here. That's my new strike, as I did roll this one out to April 10th at a $95 strike. And let's take a look at that order. And here we go. You can see right here, this is that $99 March the 27th put that I did sell. Now, since I sold to open, I have to buy it back to close this leg of the trade. So when you're rolling an option, if you sold it originally, then you have to buy that one back to close it. But when you're rolling it, you're basically want to buy that one and then sell another one, right? So you're just rolling that sold put to another sold put, but you have to buy back the old one, okay? So this is that $99 one that I did buy back for March the 27th, and I rolled it out to April the 10th, and I rolled that strike down to $95. Now, for doing so, how much did I actually earn? Well, you can see right here the total amount that I actually earned in that roll was $2.34, or $234, because I have one contract and each contract is worth 100 shares. So for a total of $234, I rolled this one from $99 down to $95. So that's some good money right there. Now, if I slide this over, you'll see where I had to buy this one and sell this one. Now, when you're rolling it, the broker does all that for you, but I can slide this right over and you can see how much it actually cost me to buy this one back. I bought it back at $3.61. So I had to pay a little bit more than I actually earned on the original. The original, I earned $3.50. So right there is about 11 cents of a loss on that one, right? But I rolled it, so therefore I opened a new one and I earned $5.95 on this one, okay? So if you take the difference between the $5.95 and the $3.61 right here, that will give you a total of that $2.34. And that's how much I actually was credited for this roll. So now if CRDO moves back up and it gets above the 95, then I would not get assigned those shares at the time of expiration. But if it does stay below the 95 by my expiration date, then I could get assigned those shares. So now let's just go ahead and slide over to my options tracker and let's get those entered into the options tracker to give you more of a visual of those numbers. All right, so here we are on my options tracker, and you can see right here is that CRDO, and I have not entered my SPY yet. And since that one was done first, let's just go ahead and enter that one in first. So the entry date for that one was on 3/25, ticker SPY. My purchase price, still the same purchase price, right? I own those at $668. This was a covered call that I did on those shares, and the strike price that I did select was $670. And here's my order form. You can see here's that strike, $670. And you can see my limit price that I had entered in was 75 cents. And we slide right over, and it was actually filled also at 75 cents per share. So we'll use that in my spreadsheet, along with that March the 27th for the expiration date. So back on my sheet, that expiration date was March 27th. I earned 75 cents in premium. The fees to open, it was 6 cents, and the number of contracts was 1. So total premium was $74.94. Now, since this one is closed and that price never got above my strike of $670, I'm going to go ahead and close this one because I know that it did not get above it. Therefore, this one will expire worthless and will be removed, and the contract will be removed from my account come Monday morning. So let's just go ahead and close this one just to clean it up, and that close date will be 3/27. That amount to close it, it will be 0 because it did expire worthless. Was I assigned any shares off of this? I was not, because it did not get up above my strike. And therefore, the price appreciation being 0, this is a covered call, and it did not close above my strike. So I earned $74.94, and that's roughly a projected monthly percentage earned of 1.14 and 13.65 for the year. And those are projected, calculated percents earned on that money. So that wraps that one up quick and easy, right? Quick and easy. So for this one, since it is closed out, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change the color to green, being closed. We get our little pop-up because it is changing some of the fields that are protected. But since we're just changing the color, we're just going to hit OK. Now, we had that CRDO that we did roll. And this is the original one for $99. So we need to close this one, and then we'll open the next one, right? Because we rolled this one. So we got to close the current one, buy to close, and then we will sell to open the new one. So let's slide right over right here. Let's change this to now closed because we're going to buy to close this one. And the date was 3/27. Now the premium to close is not going to be 0. For this one, I did have to pay to close it. How much did I pay to close? That's shown right here on my order form. Right here is the buy to close, right? That's the $99 strike that I bought to close. We'll slide right over here, and it was $3.61. So we'll enter in $3.61 for that buy to close. All right, so here we are, buy to close, 3.61. How much did it cost me to buy to close this one? It cost me 5 cents. And there's that loss for this one, right? It's showing it as a loss. But do remember, I rolled it, so I will get a credit that is higher than that amount that I actually paid to sell. Therefore, in the end, on that total transaction, it will be a credit. But since I'm doing all this in one shot, it shows it as a credit total. But for this one, was I assigned those shares? I was not, because I rolled it. So let's go ahead and slide right over. That's going to fill in all of this here. And as you can see, they are minuses because I did take a small loss on that one. But since I did roll it, in the end, it will show it as a credit. So on that same day, on 3/27, I rolled it, which means that I sold to open a new put. So on 3/27, ticker CRDO, purchase price is still going to be 0 because I am selling a put stating that I am willing to purchase shares at a certain price, not that I own the shares. So this one will be a cash secured put. My strike, I did lower it down to $95. That expiration, again, we look at the order form, April the 10th. And that will have an average price of $5.95. So let's enter that part into the spreadsheet. Expiration 4/10. Premium was 5.95. How much did it cost me? 6 cents. I have one contract, and there you go. So I made $594.94 minus the $3.61 over here that I had to pay to close, means that I actually got a credit of $234 right here. The difference of the two is how much I actually made in credit. So for this one, since it is out till April, this one is still open. So now you can see I still only have 2 options open. I still have my TJX and I have the one CRDO. This one here is closed. So let's just go ahead and let's color that one green, and it is now closed. So I was at roughly about $3,900 that I've earned in my options so far. And let's just see what it is now. And as you can see now, it's at $4,213. So it is moving up. Even though the market is coming down, I am still able to sell calls and puts and make some money. So that is a very good thing. So So that gets my options tracker updated. And now let's slide over to the high yield stock tracker sheet and let's get all of those updated. Find out where I currently sit on those, because we know as the market has been coming down, everything else has been coming down with it. And here we are on my high yield stock tracker sheet. And as you can see, it is taking a bit of a hit, right? The market is falling and everything else is coming down too. But I am still green on the majority of my high yield ETFs. But with this pullback, it does hurt a bit, right? And we can slide right over. As you can see, first I'm down on CONY, ULTY, SMCY, QQQY, and DIVO I'm down just a little bit on. But when you add them all together, I'm still up on the total portfolio of the high yield ETFs. Now it has come down, but I'm still green so far. So let's just go ahead and jump right on in, get these distributions entered in, and find out where we currently sit. And of course, if you want to get a copy of this sheet along with the options tracker sheet, come on over, join the Discord, where you can get a copy to use to track your stocks and options to know where you currently sit and how much you're currently making on your options or high yield ETFs. So come on over, join the Discord. That link is in the pinned comments and down in the descriptions below. But let's just go ahead and get this updated and get to moving. So on CONY, we're going to start off with CONY, and to get to that individual sheet, you just simply hover over top of that ticker, gives you a pop-up right here. You click it and it takes you straight to that individual sheet where you'll enter in your distributions or any purchases that you've made, and it will track all of the information for you and then update your summary page so that you know where you currently sit for each of your high yield stock ETFs. So starting right off here with CONY. So with CONY, we earned a total of 53 cents per share for that distribution. So I've got those entered in here, and let's go ahead and enter in the number of shares and find out what that new real price per share will be. So I have a total of 175 shares. So my real price per share of $40.24 now becomes $39.70. So since CONY is still under, I am still at a loss on CONY. And if I were to sell all my shares at that current price of CONY at $24.53, I would take a loss of $2,655. So because of the market being down, along with Bitcoin, CONY is still at a loss for me. So moving on, we have PLTY. And for PLTY, I have this one paid off, as you can see right here. And that adjusted price per share, or my real price per share, is minus $3.06. And it's a minus because it is paid off, means that I have none of my capital invested into the shares of PLTY. And for PLTY, I earn 47 cents, and I have a total of 37 shares. So my real price per share of minus 306 now becomes minus 354. So if I wanted to buy more shares of PLTY, as long as I didn't spend more than $131 for an estimated number of shares of 3 shares, I would still continue to stay in the paid off status. If I did exceed this, then I would lose that paid off status and I would have to wait again before it got into that paid off status again. So as long as I do not exceed this amount right here, I will stay in paid off status. But with the way the market has been and with Bitcoin being down, I'm currently just in a hold position for all of these high yield ETFs. And moving forward, we have NVDY. We earned 11 cents. I have a total of 71 shares, and therefore my real price per share of $11.06 now becomes $10.94. And if I were to sell all my shares at the current price of $12.54, I would make $113. So as you can see, even though NVDY has been coming down, I'm still lowering my real price per share so that I can try to stay ahead of any price drops that any of these high yield ETFs may have. Next, I have ULTY. We earned 43 cents on ULTY. I have a total of 56 shares. Therefore, my real price per share of $33.89 now becomes $33.46. Now, the current price of ULTY is $30 even. So therefore, if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would lose $193. For MSTY, this one is in paid off status, and that's why you see a minus $9.20. Now, we did earn a distribution of 34 cents, and I have 95 shares. Therefore, that real price per share now becomes minus $9.54. So if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would clear $2,936. For SMCY, now this one here did drop, and it is sitting at $5.35 for that current price. Now last week I had mentioned that since it was so low, I was looking to buy some shares, and I actually did. I purchased some shares on March the 22nd. So let's just enter that into my spreadsheet right here. So we have 322. The purchase price that I actually got those shares at was at 4.85. What a buy price, right? $4.85 per share. Now, how many shares did I get? I purchased 25 shares, and I was hoping to get 50, but I had put 25 shares in at this price. And then I had another order that if it did drop a little further, it was going to purchase me another 25 shares. But it just did not get down to my next buy price, but that's okay. I got 25 shares more at $4.85 per share. Now, because I did buy under my real price per share of $7.19, this is also going to help lower that real price per share. So that real price per share of $7.19 will drop due to the purchase of these 25 shares at $4.85, and that new real price per share before my distributions will be $7.01. So it did lower it, and now I also get to add in the distribution. So we'll scroll right down through here, and that new distribution is on 3/26. That's the X date. I enter in these as the X date, and that means that I have to own those shares before this date. And 3/26 being the X date, I scroll back up here. I made that purchase on 3/22. Since that is before the X date, I can count for all those shares. So therefore, my new share count will be 325 shares, and I can enter that in right here. So that would be 325 shares, and that's going to also lower that real price per share from $7.01 down to $6.93. So as you can see, I am bringing it on down. SMCY is down, but I'm still able to average myself down on my real price per share off the distributions and any purchases that I do make. That is under that real price per share. Moving forward, we have AMDY. We earned 32 cents, and I have a total of 164 shares. Therefore, my real price per share of $27.72 now becomes $27.39. But the current price of $31.06 means if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would make $602.15. On YMAX, we earned 3 cents this week. That is one of the lowest ones in quite a while. But let's just go ahead and enter that in, and let's adjust that real price per share off of that distribution. So I have a total of 758 shares, and therefore my real price per share of $6.82 now drops to $6.78. So every little penny helps. So with that new real price per share, if I were to sell all my shares at the current price of $7.57, I would make $596. Moving on to HUI, and HUI has dropped due to Bitcoin. So we do need some help from Bitcoin to move back up so that we can move Robinhood and Coinbase and all those back up. So that can help us to move HUI and CONY up as well. I have a total of 116 shares, And earning that 37-cent distribution will adjust my real price per share of $43.06 down to $42.69. So if I were to sell all my shares at the current price of $26.73, I would take a loss of $1,851. QDTE, we earned 11 cents. I have 155 shares, and therefore my real price per share of $21.50 now becomes $21.38. And if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would make $878. IWMY, we earned 10 cents, and I have 551 shares with a real price per share of $14.86. Will drop down to $14.76. And if I were to sell all my shares of IWMY, I would make $1,638. For QQQY, we earned 12 cents. I have 551 shares, and therefore my real price per share of $19.21 now becomes $19.09. And therefore, if I were to sell all my shares at that $20.13 current price, I would make $573. So as you can see, as you're entering these in, it is tracking and giving you your gains or losses as you're entering in your distributions and or purchases. So that's why this sheet does help, as it helps you to understand where you currently sit in your position. For WDTE, we earned 16 cents. I have 540 shares. Therefore, my real price per share of $25.09 now becomes $24.93. And the current price being $27.85 means if I were to sell all these shares at that current price, I would make $1,579. For JEPQ, this is a monthly payer. And since we do not have a distribution for this week, my real price per share of $9.68 still stands. And if I were to sell all my shares at the $54.13 current price, I would make $2,444. Last but not least, I have DIVO. And DIVO, we earned 17 cents, and I have 12 shares, and therefore my real price per share of $44.93 now becomes $44.75. And that current price being $44.21 means if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would take a loss of $6.51. Now I do have an order for DIVO sitting out there, and I've got it set at $44 even. So if the current price of DIVO does drop down to $44, it's going to purchase me a few shares of that, which will help to lower my real price per share, because currently that real price per share is $44.75, and I do not want to buy above $44.75, but if I do buy below it, it will help to lower it as well. So that wraps up all of the high yield ETFs that I own. And to get back to my summary page, it's pretty simple. Hover right over the tab here, click the pop-up, and right back to the summary page you go. So I hope all that made sense, where you can actually enter in all your positions, the ones that you own, track them, see where you currently are at, and what you need to do to help in your position. So again, if you would like to get a copy of my high yield stock tracker sheet that you're seeing here, or my options tracker that you're seeing now, then come on over, join the Discord, where you can get a copy of each of these, along with any notifications of purchases that I do make, as I do inform my Discord members of those purchases and any of the stocks and their prices that I'm looking at. That Discord membership link will be down in the description and in the pinned comments below. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, as it would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.